Put me and Wowhead out of a job if it makes the game better, please. And then the only other thing is they've got no plans to make Covenant swapping easier, and the cooldown is likely to remain.
Fair question mark?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's like I'm just so beaten I don't give a shit anymore. Even though in my head this, like, my experience playing my Hunter would be so much better if I could just be like, you know what, right now I want to use Death Chakram. So I'm going to swap over to this ability and this sort of soulbind set. But the problem is it's just not really. It would feel so forced to do that. It doesn't feel like that would be designed into the game. But I do just feel like Blizzard have made 4 pretty cool abilities, and fuck me, I only get to use one of them. And I could just say, Blizzard Entertainment, hello, whichever camera you're on.
You're here now.
Hello you, hello. I would enjoy playing my class so much more if I just had 4 Covenant abilities and absolutely nothing else of all of the stuff there. Give me 4 Covenant abilities, and then give me, you know, some, like, generic way to sort of glyph up my character just for that expansion so we can get the pros of conduits. Bam! So much more fun. There is, like... I don't want to be a Venthyr because I do not enjoy being a vampire. I look at Flayed Shot and I think that's really fun. I'd like to play that. Well, you know what? Screw me, I guess. I don't get to do that. Yeah. Now, it's fine. I enjoy using Wild Spirits, but there's loads of Hunters who probably don't. Well, yeah, tough luck. It's like... And even some of the balance concerns between different Covenant abilities, there wouldn't be as much concerns if it was just like talents, and you could swap over to a more single-targety one if you wanted to. Yeah, so, look, Covenants are Covenants. You are going to be, I think, pretty hard-locked into your choice, at least in the current way that exists, for the whole expansion, for some reason, because somehow we gain from that. I have no idea how I gain from that playing my Hunter. I don't think I have ever gained from having cool mechanical things locked away from me. Now, sure, lock away the Abomination Factory and the Maldraxxus storyline, whatever. But they could have just narratively had it that, you know, we go into each zone as we level up, we solve their core narrative problem, there we go, narrative problem solved, we are granted some power by the Eternal who, you know, lords over that Covenant, and there you go. We get our signature Covenant abilities, which really does make us the Mawwalker of the Shadowlands, helping everybody out with the power all Covenants are granted to us, and then... Sure, have your Covenant-specific soulbinds, and have it work the way it does now, and just don't make the soulbind impact the Covenant ability.
Yep.
Done.
Yeah.
Bam! The expansion is instantly so much more fun to play on literally every single class that you play it, because the division of content sort of makes sense from like a fantasy and narrative perspective, and the collection stuff and making your choice there. But in terms of player power, there is, I think, there is zero way that it's more fun, because I am going to roll I'm going to roll a Hunter, and maybe I'm going to take that into one Covenant. And if I roll 3 other characters and those go to 3 other Covenants, I experience all of the aesthetic collecting and story stuff, fine, fair enough. I'm not going to roll 4 Hunters, so I have 1 Hunter with every single Covenant ability because I want to try out the abilities. I'm never going to do that. So, and nobody is, really. I mean, other than the people who, you know, have 50 Hunters or, you know, stuff like that. So it's like with the abilities, who the hell wins? I mean, in my head, it's basically stupid the way it's done right now, and I don't... It's just that thing. Blizzard sits there saying, you know, oh, gameplay first, we're Blizzard, yeah. And you're like, no, not really. And that's I think Blizzard's view of that sort of tenet of their own company is extremely rigid, very narrow, and a bit blind to the player experience of their game, because gameplay is not just mechanical abilities. Gameplay is player experience. Cosmetics are player experience. It's all gameplay.
I figured it out.
Does my head in.
Figured out what gameplay first actually means. In a way that's quippy. It's gameplay last and always tacked on at the very end. That's what it is. It's always gameplay's never in service of this grand goal they have a lot of the time, and there's never a grand goal that like follows gameplay. It's always gameplay first. Is in exactly your complaints about Garrisons, about how they went gameplay first. That means Garrisons have to be gameplay focused or gameplay involvement.
And suddenly the reason anyone else that's gone.
Yeah, they're like, here's the Covenants. We've built this grand, great, beautiful system. People will have so much identity with their Covenant and all the new characters. and then all the fuck gameplay, and then they got the old dusty gameplay plank and nailed it onto the bottom of the Covenants. I went, done, system's done, beautiful.
Felt like that in beta, didn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
And it's just that thing. It's as if they think the only thing that matters as gameplay is like the button that you hit. It's like they value that so much, and I'm pretty sure Ian said in interviews that, you know, apparently, me getting wild spirits and not flayed shot is extremely important to my Covenant decision. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, no, it's not. That's like my character gameplay. But I'm playing this MMO role-playing game. We used to call our characters avatars for a reason, sort of. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I am just somehow an old curmudgeon, which makes no sense because I am like younger than the average World of Warcraft player. If you like, you know, go through our audience demos. So I mean, I don't know who this stuff's done for. It doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever it was, Blizzard internally felt like the Covenant choice did not have enough stakes unless you had to choose between an ability. And I just know that I would enjoy my raiding experience as my hunter more if I had another button I was swapping around and having fun with.
Yeah, no, there's a... here's one thing I think they could have done away with, like, they could have had soulbinds, because the only way soulbinds they tie into your ability fairly well, but they didn't have to do that, because this is what CMark 100, who's been in chat all evening, said. My idea for the Covenant abilities was always to make them linked to the zone, and any zone, dungeon / raids present, and build content in that zone around the idea everyone has that ability. And I think that would be great, because as it currently stands, you basically have shit all to do with any of the other Covenants. You're just your Covenant. You're running around with, you know, as for example, I've went and put a decent amount of time into helping Revendreth solve their major problems, including killing Denathrius. But I'm not allowed into their secret hut. I'm not allowed any of their power, anything like that.
I mean, it's basically a big sewer anyway. I wouldn't be too torn up about it.
That's fair, but it's like, why can I not just be somewhat friendly with all Covenants and then have one that I go home to, but I see friends, the other 3 are friends, one I'm married to. Why can I not have that?
Meaningful choice.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm sorry. I actually just got lost in CMark's idea because it's so. It feels like such a. It's just good. It's just good. If you had, there's 2 dungeons in each zone. You go into the dungeon, you've got a different ability in this dungeon. There you go. That's great. Maybe everywhere else in the world you have your own, but it's like this one's just, you use it for in here, and that would feel like going into a different raid would be interesting.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah.
Obviously, it's hurt by the fact there's not going to be a raid in each zone, because that would be 4 raids, and that would be really annoying. But at the same time, going into Nathria and being like, right, I've got Ash and Hallow in here, let's go. And then this is another thing they could have. I guess it's the idea of, if they had been thinking about gameplay experience from the very beginning and designed something like that kind of idea, then you would have had a raid that, maybe the raid wasn't Castle Nathria fully. Maybe the raid was, you go into Castle Nathria, you end up teleporting to, you're chasing a broker somewhere.
Oh, God.
So you end up spending a boss fight or 2 in Bastion, and then you have that kind of, a fight feels different because you have different tools for the fight.
That could have been neat. It's I mean, there's Hazed here. I think just says feels like we're testing out what systems work and don't for the next big MMO. I don't think they've got an next big MMO, but it feels like we're just at the whims of whatever their latest harebrained scheme is. Instead of them just sort of sticking to the basics and what actually works, and then focusing on the content. And I totally agree with that. And that's why it's like we've been testing a different. We've basically It's like with Legion and onwards. It's like they're developing a new drink. And every expansion, what we're doing is we're tasting like a slightly different flavor profile, of whatever this drink is. And I'm just sitting there being like, right, I want the next drink, or I want the next thing. We're kind of just here in this sort of weird, we're trying to accomplish the same thing via so many different ways every single expansion, and that's why it does feel like a constant early access game. Because it honestly doesn't even feel like there's that much confidence in the systems from the devs, because evidently they swap them and change them, and there's so little of like a consistent through line of, you know, just World of Warcraft working. It's like you've got to relearn, you know, how have they done progression in systems this time? So often, and man, just keep it simple. Keep it simple.
And also the fact they have to defend it all the time.
Yeah, like put me and Wowhead out of a job if it makes the game better, please.
Sure.
Yeah, that's my TLDR really.
Yeah.